Welcome back to another Transcripts video. It's the first one since Game Week 14, but this time we're looking at Game Week 17. So many injuries and concerns, and there are some new things coming out, and I'll try to address them in this video as well, and talking about what I would do in the scenarios. But I'm focusing on 10 players to buy, hold, sell, and skip. If you disagree or agree with any of them, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below, as always. And if this video gets to over 200 likes, there'll be the team selection, the best wildcard team for Game Week 17, and also much more, such as the deadline stream, reaction stream for FPL, and then of course the UCL fantasy content from February onwards for match day 7, the knockout stages. So there's plenty of content over the next couple of months. So if you subscribe, smash the like button, share it around with those that love FPL and UCL fantasy, you'll be doing me a favor, and also you'll be in tune with everything that comes out on this channel. But without further ado, let's jump straight into this video. Ollie Watkins is the fourth most transferred in player this week, with over 200,000 FPL managers bringing the Aston Villa striker. And I was one of those that sold him all the way back in Game Week 6, I think it was, when he got 9 points against Chelsea, then 23 against Brighton. I repeat the same mistake heading into that Bournemouth fixture where Watkins was a doubt. And in that game alone, he got 11 points, which is more than Darwin Núñez got in the 3 game weeks overall. And that looked like a disaster transfer, really. Even a lot of the forwards people bought, with the exception of Solanke, I think, they just paled in comparison to Ollie Watkins. He's so consistent. He did blank though against Arsenal and Manchester City, 2 of the toughest games you'll ever get in the season. Only 3 points across those 2 games, but the fixtures now are easing up, and Ollie Watkins is so consistent with 8 goals, 9 assists, 15 big chances, and just 1 point shy from 100. So he'll almost certainly reach it in that Brentford fixture against his former club in Game Week 17. So for me, Ollie Watkins is a very easy buy, whether you're looking to sell Erling Haaland, which I'll talk about very soon, or you're maybe going to do Darwin Núñez back to Watkins. I just think don't overcomplicate it. You buy Ollie Watkins back in Game Week 17 or 18. It's up to you. I'd personally buy him now, though, if you're able to. Tottenham Hotspur have been poor defensively. That is not really going to be a shock or news to anyone watching, but I think with some key players coming back, like Romero from suspension, Udogie as well, and you've also got the likes of Maddison and Van der Ven coming back in a couple of weeks' time, around January or February, Spurs can start to look a bit more like the side that took the league by storm in the first 10 gimmicks of the season. But more importantly, Pedro Porro, in the absence of Maddison, takes all set pieces, corners and free kicks. He creates so many chances from open play as well. The underlying numbers are terrific. 26 chances created, key passes. That is absolutely exceptional. He's got 60 FPL points despite Spurs not keeping many clean sheets. 5 assists, no goals so far, but the assists definitely makes up for it. And his ownership is still quite low, relatively speaking. It's under 20%. It's 16.8% at the time of this recording, and he's 5.4 million in price. I don't think he'll go up again in price before the deadline, but he almost certainly will heading into Game Week 18. And over the next 4, I think he's got some good fixtures there to keep at least 1 clean sheet and also add some attacking returns on top of it. So for me, Pedro Porro is a buy. And if you want kind of defenders from teams that are going to keep a lot of clean sheets, you go for Arsenal, Manchester City, Liverpool, and maybe 1 or 2 other teams there, like Newcastle, once they get their act together and get their key players back. But I think in terms of attacking output, I'd only rank Trippier and Trent above Pedro Porro. It's not often that I recommend a Bournemouth player in a Transcripts video, and also for a Bournemouth player to be the most transferred in player this week. But Solanke ticks both boxes. Almost 400,000 people have bought him heading into Game Week 17, and that number is only going to rise with those next 3 fixtures. Even the long-term games are very promising there for Bournemouth, and their form is scintillating to say the least. They're scoring goals in every single game, and they're winning football matches, even against Man United at Old Trafford. Solanke is only 6.6 million. His ownership is 10.2%, so I still class him as a relative differential. 8 goals, 1 assist, 14 big chances, only 1 fewer than Ollie Watkins, and 73 FPL points. And I think, apart from Haaland and Watkins, I think Solanke is easily the 3rd best forward in the game right now. Alvarez was at the beginning of this season. Darwin Núñez showed glimpses from time to time, but Solanke is showing real consistency. So I'd go for him. He's a talismanic figure. And with Bournemouth, I personally wouldn't go for the defenders or Neto in goal, and even the midfielders like Tavernier, who could be of interest. I still think there are better alternatives from other clubs in the midfield position. But with Solanke, I struggle to think of better forwards in the game right now, considering fixtures, underlying numbers, and sheer consistency. So for me, Solanke is a buy, and he's well worth the hype at this moment in time. I discussed Erling Haaland extensively a couple of days ago in the reaction stream, and my exact words were, I'd probably sell him, but it's not worth doing anything. I would not transfer Haaland out until we get more news after the Champions League game and also the press conference before Game Week 17. And after that Champions League game against Red Star Belgrade, Pep Guardiola said he'll be back, I think, on Thursday. We'll see how he feels. Now, this video is recorded on the Thursday morning, so things could certainly change. We could get an update later today by Pep Guardiola. He said he will be a bit more exact and precise with the updates. So let's wait and see if he's a man of his word. But I think Haaland is definitely worth holding on to right now, unless we get confirmation later today on the Thursday that Haaland is out. That's the only reason I would sell him. And for those of you that want to do a 1 or 2 game week punt, it's not the end of the world. You can do that. But if he's available for Crystal Palace, I'd certainly hold on to him for that, sell him for the blank, and then buy him back for Game Week 19 maybe. But if it involves hits, then it could just be worth keeping Haaland on your bench. And if you have 2 other good forwards like Solanke, Darwin or Watkins, then you don't really need to make a forward transfer, in my opinion. There's not really much need to talk about Haaland, his numbers, which are absolutely amazing, the underlying metrics, but 28 big chances is by far the most in the league. 112 FPL points, 14 goals, 5 assists. He's been nursing a foot injury for the past couple of weeks, and he's still scoring goals in big games against Leipzig, also getting 2 assists against Tottenham, scoring against Liverpool and Chelsea. He's a man for the big games, especially in the Premier League. He's got great long-term fixtures. The blank is the only downside to Erling Haaland, in my opinion, and also this lingering injury. But I personally think Haaland could be available for the Crystal Palace game, and if he is, he's a definite hold. Saka was fully rested in the Champions League as Arsenal drew 1-1 to PSV Eindhoven, and a lot of Arsenal fans were very happy about that, and Saka still has the joint most goal contributions in the Champions League alongside Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane. And in the Premier League, he might not have been performing to the same level, but he's still got 5 goals and 8 assists. He's priced at 9 million now, and his ownership is almost at 60%. 39 key passes is a very underrated metric, and Saka also has one of the most dribbles completed in the top 5 leagues and the Premier League as well, of course. 94 FPL points, good long-term fixtures. I think Brighton and Liverpool are the only fixtures really that you look at and think that could be a bit tough. Saka's ceiling might not be that high, but he can still do well in these games. And I'd actually argue that Liverpool is the only almost certain blank you could see there, but Saka can still produce something in that match. He's got a great record against the top 6. If you're looking to do Saka to Son, my advice would be no. As good as Son is, my preference would be to have both of them. If that's your only route to Heung-min Son, fair enough, but you look at West Ham, Fulham and Crystal Palace shortly afterwards, and you'd probably want Saka back if you sell him right now and then buy him back in 2, 3 or 4 game weeks time. And once Salah and Son go off to the respective international competitions in Game Week 21, when you're looking at replacements, I think Saka will become the best midfielder in the game. I'm a bit less keen on Jarrod Bowen than I was a couple of weeks ago, but I still think he's worth holding on to, especially with injuries to the likes of Gordon, who we'll also talk about very soon. But Bowen is priced at 7.7 million. His ownership is 21.2%, so it's actually gone up a little bit during the week. 9 goals, 1 assist, 13 big chances, comparable to Solanke and Watkins. 86 FPL points, a bit of a mixed bag in terms of fixtures. Wolves and Sheffield United look good on paper, but Man United, Arsenal and Brighton don't. However, he did really well against Brighton, producing 12 points earlier in the season. He also scored against Arsenal in the Carabao Cup in this campaign, and also scored last season in that 2-2 draw, which also led to Arsenal losing the title. And against Man United, I mean, anyone would fancy their chances against Man United right now with all their injuries and internal problems. So for me, Jarrod Bowen is a hold. He might not be the best midfielder in the game, and there are definitely some better alternatives for a similar price, but I still think Bowen is right up there, and on a wild card, I'd still include him. This one is very simple in my opinion. Joachim Andersen is a sell. You look at the next 5 fixtures, and I don't see Crystal Palace keeping a clean sheet against Manchester City, Brighton or Arsenal. They could in theory against Chelsea or Brentford, but I only see 1 clean sheet max out of the next 5 game weeks. He's priced at 5 million. His ownership is over 20%, 2 goals, 1 assist, 11 key passes, and 64 FPL points. That's the 4th highest amongst defenders. But I still think Joachim Andersen is a sell. And the question is, for those of you with Andersen and cash, who should I prioritize selling? I'd probably sell Andersen because cash could play and start in some of these easier games coming up, like in Game Week 18 against Sheffield United at home, and that could be very useful to you. whilst Joachim Andersen will probably give you 1 to 2 points in most of the matches coming up. Now, after these fixtures do clear up a little bit, I think he could become a good option once again. But for the time being, Joachim Andersen is a sell, and I've personally already sold him heading into Game Week 17. Now, this is a very interesting one because with Gordon potentially injured, Isak could still start games alongside Callum Wilson, with Isak on the left-hand side and Callum Wilson down the middle. And during midweek, it was Wilson starting against AC Milan whilst Isak came off the bench. And I think Isak will start against Fulham, so you could keep him for that fixture. But long-term, Isak is a definite sell. You've got Watkins and Solanke, who I talked about earlier. They are better options. Of course, Erling Haaland, it goes without saying. And Isak just doesn't really fill me with confidence when Wilson is also available because the minutes will be shared and Gordon's injury might not be that long-term anyway. In terms of the Gordon update that we have got, and I talked about this in the best wildcard team, Eddie Howe said that Gordon was forced off because of a tight hamstring, and the other problem for them is Kieran Trippier with an unspecified injury. So let's see what Eddie Howe says in the next press conference. If we get any updates before the deadline, if Gordon is out, then Isak will almost certainly play, and I think he will anyway against Fulham. So you could keep him for this game, but ultimately in Game Week 18, 19 or 20, Isak is a sell. We are now in the final section, the skips, and Marco Senesi has been very impressive with back-to-back goals and also some massive returns, clean sheets, all of that, 14, 15 points. He is delivering on a very high level, but I think he's a skip. I'm seeing a lot of people saying, oh, I want Senesi, he's cheap, only 4.4 million, a mega differential, amazing games coming up. And look, as a free game week punt, I don't mind it at all, especially to cover for Arsenal, for example, playing Brighton and Liverpool. So as a short-term punt, it's absolutely fine, but I don't trust Bournemouth defensively. And also, when you look at the goal threat that Senesi has, he's had only 3 shots all season. So I think it's very unsustainable for him to keep scoring at this rate and pretty much scoring with every single shot he has. 45 FPL points, 2.1% ownership. The next 3 game weeks look really good. I think 1 clean sheet is certainly possible. But for me, Senesi is a skip. And if you want a cheap defender, Mykolenko for 0.2 million more is even better. The 10th and final player covered today is Raul Jimenez, who was a great FPL option back in the day with Wolves. And just like Senesi, very good in the last 2 game weeks. Raul Jimenez has 3 goals in that time frame, 4 goals overall in the season, but only 4 big chances, 47 FPL points. So you look at the 2 skips covered in this video and they're both very similar. They've got some good fixtures in the next 5, great form, but poor underlying numbers and no sign of sustainability in my opinion. But Fulham, if they keep attacking the way they are, Raul Jimenez will get some goals. He'll be a decent choice. And if you want a budget forward and you want more squad depth and 8 attackers to rotate in this Christmas period, Raul Jimenez is absolutely fine. But I'd personally skip him and I'd focus on the likes of Watkins, Solanke and Erling Haaland for your front 3. And the likes of Darwin are still above Raul Jimenez in the pecking order. So for me, Raul Jimenez is a skip. And the same goes for most Fulham assets with the exception of Leno. So that's it. We've covered 10 players to buy, hold, sell and skip in this video. You might also be thinking about Gordon. What would you do with him? And my current advice would be to just wait for more updates and see how long he's out for. If he's only out for Game Week 17, I would argue that he's still worth holding on to long term. But if he's out for a week or 2 overall, and that means he misses 2 to 3 game weeks, he becomes an immediate sell. Check out my team selection video to see what I end up doing with Gordon and many other key FPL options. And thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's try to get this video to over 200 likes and let's keep on pushing towards 22,000 subscribers and beyond. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for the Patreon, Championships Discord server, the FPL League, and also Draft Hound. I wish you all the best of luck for Game Week 17 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.